1400 WABY in Albany.
All the news by all means now. From the Capital District's only direct line to the Knickerbocker News, from every point in the universe, this is WABY Electronic News.
This is Herb Sabin reporting the 8:30 news at 8:15. The Federal Urban Renewal Administration says it has approved advances totaling $117,409 to the city of Albany to help plan 2 slum clearance projects. The state health commissioner says that lung cancer has become the most common form of cancer affecting men in the upstate New York, Long Island area. Dr. Hermione Hillebo says this is especially true of cigarette smokers. The Rutland Railway strike is in its 3rd day with no sign of settlement. 4 operating brotherhoods ask for an 8-cent an hour pay increase. The management counters with a demand for a 19-cent cut. Current wages have not been discussed. And the discovery of an empty canoe touches off a search for a New York City man who may have drowned in Lake Champlain near Plattsburgh. The overturned aluminum canoe was found September 18th near Crab Island off Plattsburgh. State police have traced the canoe to a 33-year-old Edward S. Rolfe of Manhattan. They say Rolfe rented the canoe in Plattsburgh to go on a 3-day camping trip alone after arriving in Plattsburgh by plane on September the 16th.
Thousands of on-the-spot reporters are bringing you WABY Electronic News.
Now, the world today.
The Senate adjourned its first session of the Kennedy administration in an angry mood at about 6:16 Eastern Daylight Time this morning, after the House, about 2 hours earlier, had dumped a big money bill in its lap on a take-it-or-leave-it basis. The House passed a more than $1 billion appropriations bill to support a variety of government agencies. Senate Democratic leader Mike Mansfield of Montana was joined by Senate Republican leader Everett Dirksen of Illinois in verbally blasting the House procedure. The heavily Democratic Congress, the 87th, ran up a new peacetime record for appropriations, $92.5 billion. President Kennedy apparently will stake his political standing on 4 explosive issues in the next session of Congress. Kennedy has passed the word to legislative leaders that he will start battling next January for 3 proposals laid aside this year: a general aid to education bill, medical care for the aged, and creation of a cabinet-ranked Department of Urban Affairs. His 4th major effort will be toward extension of the Reciprocal Trade Agreements Act. Secretary of State Russian Soviet Foreign Minister Gromyko made at a luncheon in New York today for a second try at finding a basis on which to negotiate the Berlin crisis. The bargaining tone of Foreign Minister Gromyko in his Moscow policy address before the UN yesterday has raised guarded hopes the Russians may be ready to ease the threat of war over Berlin. President Kennedy may announce a replacement today for Allen Dulles as head of the Central Intelligence Agency. And former Vice President Nixon will disclose in Los Angeles broadcast news interview tonight at about 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time whether he will try for the governorship of California next year. A Navy oil tanker caught fire and exploded during the night at Moorhead City, North Carolina, killing at least 1 man and injuring 21 others.
For the Tri-Cities and the Great Northeast, WABY Radar Weather.
The WABY weather eye foresees generally fair and seasonably cool weather today through Thursday. High today 65 to 70. Low tonight in the 40s. Current street level temperature 56 degrees. That's 56 sunny WABY degrees. And that's the 8:30 news at 8:15. Herb Sabin reporting.
That's all the news by all means. Hit the Wavy News habit and get the news.
Now here's another first edition WABY Electronic News.
Labor Department officials and many state officials, including one from New York, will boycott the annual Interstate Conference of Employment Security Agencies in Atlanta, Georgia next week. In Albany, a spokesman for the department, New York State Department of Labor, says the director of the department's Division of Employment, Alfred L. Green, is one of the state officials who will boycott that conference. About 30 Cornell University students staged a quiet protest today against atomic testing. One member of the group was a graduate student jailed in the South as a freedom rider. A former Buffalo resident has become the first Negro to complete the 16-week state police training program in New Jersey. State Police Superintendent Joseph Rudder says that 23-year-old Paul Dean McElmore of Patterson will graduate on Friday. McElmore is originally from Buffalo. A Republicans for Wagner committee has been formed in New York City. The committee will back Democrat Mayor Wagner in his bid for a third term. State Attorney General Louis Lefkowitz is the Republican candidate. One of the organizers, Lloyd Dazzle, tells reporters that he believes Wagner is the better candidate and adds that he wants to see Wagner get a chance to do the job as a truly independent mayor. A lawyer in an Albany suburb is offered a contract under which he would be paid $1,300 a year by his school district for driving his two daughters to a private school in the family Cadillac. The lawyer, Walter Wesendorf Jr., bids for the contract and receives it, but the district manager says he has not yet returned it signed. The manager says the contract will not be final until the state approves it.
You are listening to WABY Electronic News. Gateway Motors' used car building was damaged in a fire, but now it's completely repaired and renovated. To celebrate this happy occasion, Gateway is conducting a happy occasion sale, the biggest sale ever on top-quality used cars. One could say they're practically giving the cars away by lowering the prices to rock bottom, and the trade really high. Your present car is worth more than ever before in trade-in value. Help Gateway celebrate their new premises. Help yourself to the biggest savings ever. Get to Gateway now during their happy occasion sale. That's Gateway Motors, Central Avenue, across from the new Grand Way, Albany.
Now, the world today.
President Kennedy names the former chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission, John McCone, as head of the Central Intelligence Agency. He'll succeed Alan Dulles in November. British Foreign Secretary Lord Hume calls on Russia today to seek what he calls an honorable deal with the West on Berlin, disarmament, and other critical problems. Secretary of State Rusk meets with Soviet Foreign Minister Gromyko again today. They'll lunch together in New York at about 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The President of the General Assembly, Manji Slim, will fly to Sweden tomorrow to attend the funeral of Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld. Slim will return to New York on Saturday. The U.S. Army today withdraws disciplinary action against two officers in connection with the filming of a Jack Paar television show at the Berlin Barrier. It says a reinvestigation shows the two officers had done nothing wrong. The two are Colonel John Dean Jr. of San Francisco and Lieutenant Colonel Dallas Hoadley of Baltimore. A Tustin, California couple, Mr. and Mrs. Edgar Pankey, left New York by plane today for Germany, hoping to be able to see and talk with their 20-year-old son Victor, who has been jailed by the communists. And Ford Motor and the United Auto Workers are reported near agreement on a new 3-year contract. The news may come tonight at a wind-up session in Detroit.
WABY Radar Weather.
The WABY weather eye foresees for the Tri-Cities and the Great Northeast. Sunny and pleasant this afternoon. High around 70. Fair except for high cloudiness and not quite so cold tonight. Low in the low 50s. Thursday continue generally fair except for some cloudiness and a high in the middle 70s. Current street level temperature 68 degrees. That's 68 sunny and pleasant WABY degrees. That's all the news. Herb Sabin reporting for Gateway Motors Incorporated, 15 Chapel Street in Albany.
Now, Albany, you have heard the news.